Hey, everybody. Welcome to Verified Investing. My name is Gareth Soloway, Chief Market Strategist here. In today's video, we're going to dissect and deep dive into the chart of GE Aerospace. There are signs that it may have topped, and I want to show you these technical signals because I do think it is unbelievably educational as well. And that's what it's all about here at Verified Investing. It's looking at charts, making educated decisions based on probability, and educating everyone out there that is willing to have a look. So let's go into the GE chart. You can see again, GE has had a great run since the lows in April, but then again, most stocks have. But really the amazing thing is when you zoom out on the weekly chart and go back to 2022. From 2022, take a look at this, guys. GE has gone up to the recent highs 645%. So that is a monster move for an aerospace company here that does engines and so forth. And again, the question is, are we seeing a sign of a top? To take a look, let's always start with our shorter time frame, zooming in on the daily chart. The one thing that caught my eye recently is this trend line, connecting the lows going back to basically June through the low in early July and right through here. And what we could see now, folks, is that there's a very clear trend line hit once here, twice, three times, four times, and then five on the fifth, it has broken down. So this is the first time this trend line that has started basically back in June has now been broken. So that would be a break of trend in the near term. Now, what you're forming here, which is very interesting, is that off of this nice red reversal candle, and that's a signal in and of itself, a big wide range red candle that engulfs the previous day move. But off of this move, we've now started to create what we would refer to as, what type of pattern is this, folks? A bear flag. And so again, you've broken the trend line. You're now forming a bear flag. So you can start to see your checklist for deciding on if something's bullish or bearish, or the probabilities of upside or downside. You're starting to check off probabilities that favor the downside in the near term. All right, so now what I want to do next is take a zoomed out picture here and say, okay, well, near term, we obviously know near term over the next couple weeks, it looks bearish because of the bear flag and the breakdown and the reversal engulfing candle. But then the question would be is, okay, well, number one, how low can it drop? And number two, if we go to the monthly chart, we can see that it almost got to double top here, didn't quite get there, but that's another major resistance point. So in this situation, you can see it just came very close to that level. The only thing that's interesting here, folks, is that GE Aerospace had two companies spun out from it. All right, that's very important. And so the chart that you're looking at here is just the aerospace division versus back here in the 90s, this was multiple companies that, again, GE Healthcare, that was spun off, GEV, which again, GE Vernova, that's their energy division, that was all spun off. And again, so in reality, while you do have a double top here, which in technical analysis is powerful, right? And we can put in a little bit of a rectangle here just to show this zone, right? So lots of resistance right up here on the longer time frame. But in reality, this is way more expensive than it was back here at these same highs because, again, this is one of the three companies now versus this was three companies combined back here. And so it really puts it in perspective. A lot of people will be like, oh, it's just back to where it was trading in 1999 to 2000. By the way, the dot-com high, by the way. But in reality, again, like I'm showing you, it is much, much, much more expensive. Okay, so the only other thing that I would just draw your attention to here, folks, is again, potentially a trend line starting back in 1994. And again, what we can see here is if we go through these levels, look at this, guys. Look at what you're up against here. So again, you can see how you've had this longer term trend actually going back to 1990. And if we zoom in on this, look at this. Starts here, and then look at how it behaves right underneath that line, pulling back. And then as you get above the line here, look, it holds right above, consolidates, and notice it tries to break down but can't. And then it starts on this bigger bull move into the dot-com highs. All right, now again, if we look at this and say, okay, well, that's an interesting trend line. Now we connect it through the low of the dot-com collapse. And that trend line then gives us essentially a near-term pierce right up here as well. And so you can see there's a lot of resistance up here on the longer term chart as well. And listen, you could even go further out and say, hey, listen, what about, something like this, right? And this is another one that you'd have to pay attention to. And let me just zoom in on it a little bit. But essentially what we're doing here is taking this low, and I want to get it as exact as possible, right to that low there. Through there, you pierced it briefly in the 2015 swoon, then got back above. And look at this. So then you came down, hit, bounced, kind of pierced it, but got back above, and then broke down. And this was obviously the big collapse in GE over time. But look at all these trend lines merging up in this longer term, zoomed out monthly chart. It's amazing because we can really go back a long, long way on this chart of GE. All right. So lastly, the last thing I want to point out and say to you guys is, okay, we have our potential signals of a top. And by the way, what kind of candle formation could this be here? And listen, we're not at the end of the month. We still have one more week to go into month end. But if you just get a small sell-off in this candle, which is the monthly candle going into month end, this would form a topping tail. And topping tails, again, are extremely bearish reversal signals. So listen, we should see where this does it form a topping tail or not in this next week. But to me, the signals are truly starting to signal a top, longer term cycle top in GE Aerospace for a bigger correction. Now, again, same sort of deal. Well, where would the correction take us to? I would use this previous correction and the bull market high from 2016 and start to look at that. And what's so cool about this, I'm going to flip over to the weekly chart. Look at this. I mean, this is why I love charts, guys. This low, and then look at how it behaved right here where it established itself. Right there, hits, bounces, breaks down. Okay, fine. Then it comes back to the underbelly, tags it, and respects it again, this time in the opposite direction, and breaks even lower, right? Then you come out over here, and you can see how right here it rallies into it, rejected, comes up, done, then flushes, and this again was in the April Liberation Day swoon, and then recaptures it. But for me at least, it makes a lot of sense that we would go back to this trend line at around $200 on GE in the next, let's say, 3 months to 6 months. And that again would be a fall from current levels of about 25%. Okay. And interestingly enough as well is as we fall into that level, look at this former pivot high right here. All right. This pivot high area right here merges right over in this area and becomes a bigger area of support. So for me, at least, I like this as a short trade setup on GE Aerospace, especially if we get that monthly topping tail with a downside target of 200. And then at 200, that might be the opportunity to look for a significant bounce on the long side. And again, remember, it's not about being bullish or bearish forever. A good investor and trader is looking at the chart, and the chart is telling them where the likely next move is, and then we position ourselves accordingly. And when that move concludes, or if the chart starts to signal the other way, then you either exit that trade in the other direction and flip it around to go long in this case, or you just sit out on the sidelines. All right. Again, charts are an amazing thing. I strongly encourage everyone to learn how to read charts. It is game-changing. It has been the only reason why I have been able to do so well as an investor or trader. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Please come over to Verified Investing. Remember, I have my swing trade services over there, Smart Money Stocks and ETFs for trades like GE, Smart Money Crypto for obviously Bitcoin, ETH, and the altcoins, and then Smart Money Options for options trades, and even Smart Money Commodities, all swing trading, videos throughout the week, deep dive technical analysis that make these videos look like child's play, frankly. And then even going beyond that, again, just the insights, the trade alerts with exact entries and exits. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Thanks again for tuning in. Talk to you soon.